to the cloud. All right, let me know if you have the ability to do that. I'm on the Zoom meeting tab.
It is not, shoot.
Yeah, I don't see.
I'm trying to figure out why it won't let me.
All right, I'm a liar.
Meetings advanced. Yeah, I don't even have the ability to do that. That's weird. Okay, well.
If you do record it, it will automatically generate a transcription for people who are watching it later. So if there's nobody that requires it for right now, it'll generate it. It's not always super accurate, but it'll show up on the right-hand side of the video when people click to watch the recording, as long as that's enabled.
Yeah, that I can definitely do. Automatically record, no. Yeah, it should. Okay, that'll do that then. Well, that's annoying. Okay. Sorry about that, everyone. Again, we tried to get access to the account that hosts the meetings usually, but we couldn't. So yeah, I also looked for that, but it didn't give me any of the advanced, like there's no more advanced meeting tab. And this happens with Zoom often, that they change, like every 2 months, they'll change their layout. And whatever article was published online is no longer corresponding with what's the actual Zoom interface. So as long as there's a transcript, I'm happy about that. And I'll just look into it next time I host a meeting. So without any further distractions, I'm going to start sharing. And everyone let me know if they just see a, it should be a white screen. It just says, welcome back. That's my name. And then it says authoring workspace. Everyone can see that, right? Awesome. Okay, so for today's Proton demo, we're going to go over, mostly we're going to start with things like account types. We're going to start with, we're going to build a demo course, and we're going to go through the basics of what available features we have. And these are the features that Greg, who would have normally done this reduction, felt it best to show you all. They are mostly complete and might be some of the things that you all will use in authoring as soon as we get that started. So before we even log in, the authoring website is known as Proton. So just like how our legacy system has Echo, Proton is the authoring body to Torus. And when you want to access that, that would be proton.oli.cmu.edu. And if you're already logged in, it would come back and would look something like this. And I am logged in, and as you can see here, we're about to enter the authoring workspace. Before we do that, you should know that there are different types of accounts you can have through Torus, and that would be an authoring account or a student or independent learner or instructor account. So I'm not logged in as a student right now. It says that over here, but I actually am logged in as an author. So I have two different accounts. They are linked up to two different emails. It's a little bit complicated right now, but your student or learner or instructor account is what you would access if you were not building the course. That's what you would access if you were the instructor of the course in a given semester. And that's how your students would access the course, through their student account, or if you were accessing the course through an LMS like Canvas. If you are actively working and authoring the course, obviously, that's when you would use an authoring account. So I'm logged into my authoring account, and we're going to enter the authoring workspace. And as you can see in the top right corner, it changed from student into author. And you can always see which account you're on at all times because it will be labeled that way. So once you get into Proton, you get right to your projects interface, and you will only see the projects tab over here on the left. In my authoring cases, I only have 3 courses that I am either a collaborator on or an author of. So I'm going to take you first through the test that I did a couple days ago, and then we'll go and start a new project from scratch. So baseline, we are over in projects, and then I'm gonna hit this test. And as you can see, it opens up a whole amount of toggles and buttons on the side, and you go right over to this overview page. Something I wanted to point out is that now you can see that everything you're doing is nested under the course that you have clicked on. So whenever you go to create, publish, or improve, everything is being done here, and you can kind of see the nested windows and tabs that will happen right up here. When you go to this details page, pretty simple. Your course title is here. You can change it at any time. Your course project ID comes from the course title. This was automatically generated via the course title I typed in. You can have a course description, and then the latest publication will show up here. It's a version number, and then course publisher will show you where it's published. So I obviously only have access to a Torus publisher. However, you can link up an LMS, again, like Canvas, and it can show you that it's published via Canvas or via any other LMS you might want to use to deliver the course. Scrolling down, you have the ability to add collaborators just by typing in their email. Usually this will be people from your organization, but it doesn't have to be. You'll just have to, check off that you're not a robot, and then those individuals will be sent an invite. Once they accept, they will be listed as collaborators beneath you. And as you go on, these are some advanced activities that are not automatically enabled for a new project, but if you see fit to have them, you can add them. Currently, we are working on fixing adaptive activity, I think. Image coding is something else you can put in. Multi-input is a type of assessment that is not automatically going to be a part of your content, but again, you can add it in. And then OLI embedded is another feature. You can easily add them. There you go. You can easily remove them. Let me check the chat. All right. I'm going to probably answer questions as soon as we get to the end of them, because those are some of the questions that we'll go over. But yeah, as you go on, you can have people, you can control whether people duplicate your course. That means if it's published and you want it to be open and free, you can allow duplication by non-collaborators. So if you wanted someone to use your project for their own development, you can do that. Of course, you can unmark that if it's not open and free. Publishing visibility, this just means who can create course sections for the project once it's published. So once it's out there, who can help work on it? If it's just the project authors, that makes sense. That's just you guys and the team. Open means that any instructor can continue adding content, and that will affect your project. And then restricted is obviously people who are part of your institution only, and then you'll figure out which institution or which authors you want for that. But for now, we'll just stick with project authors. That's me, that's only me. I have no collaborators in here. And then on the very bottom, you can create a copy. You can export the project. You can download this into a data shop file, or you can permanently delete the course. Permanently delete, there's very small chance that we can resurrect a course from the grave should there be any issues, but keep precaution. All right, that's the overview page. Let me check chat real quick. Yeah, and this will show up every time you click into a project. So here we are. Let's go over to create. So underneath the project tab, you have these three other tabs that nest all of the other options. Create will usually be where you produce much of the course content. Publish is obviously, pre-publishing you're going to review. We're going to talk about products and what that means, and then publishing, and then improvements is insights. So let's go first. Here's your overview page. Underneath overview is your objectives page, which I know lots of people have been having asks and generating questions on things like skill tagging. So objectives work the same way pretty much that they do in our legacy system, with one really big difference. And this difference is that we have a lot more flexibility in how we structure our learning objectives and how we kind of break down or group together the learning objectives. So obviously right here, you have a bar, you type in whatever learning objective you want. So here's an example. I just made a few that are pretty generic and pretty bad. But what's really nice is that if you realize while you're building the course that, you know, maybe the objective you typed in could be part of a broader objective, you can turn that objective into a sub-objective of a parent objective. Now, that's objective said many, many times, so I'll just demonstrate. All right, so let's say you make an objective that says, I don't know, neuroscience, I don't know, explain the importance of, I don't know, women in neuroscience. That has nothing to do with the subject matter, but here you are, right? And let's say you wanted to use that learning objective under the broader umbrella of the history of neuroscience. You can go down here, hit breakdown, and you get a screen like this. If the objective is too broad, I think we should do some rewording on that. Convert this objective into a sub-objective. So our new parent objective, so the one that sits at the top, would be history of neuroscience. And there you are. So this one objective now became smaller. And if you have a big objective and you wanted to create smaller ones already, all you have to do is create a sub-objective and then explain the importance of money in neuroscience. I don't know. I don't study neuroscience, but yeah, anyways, this is our objective tagging. If you think about our legacy system, you might be wondering where our skills are. Well, skills in our legacy system are mostly for assessments and activities. And what's nice is that you no longer have to have specific skills attached in order to tag a learning objective into an assessment, and we'll go over that. So whereas in Torus, your learning objective might be how do we build, students will be able to describe how to build good courses, and you have skills underneath. You can treat the sub-objectives or even the largest objective as a skill. So yeah, this will just be the overview of objectives. I don't have much to say on the philosophy or like the skill behind skill tagging, but this is just how the platform is going to treat that for now. I'm going to skip over Activity Bank. Greg wanted me to skip over Activity Bank. It's a little bit more complicated than what we need for today. So let's go right down into curriculum. So our curriculum is nested in these little boxes. I have 2 units created here. Down here, you can take a look. You can add a practice page just kind of out in the blue. You can add a graded assessment out in the blue, or you can obviously box it into a unit, which is what I did here. And this is, instead of having that tabular view like we did in Legacy, it just kind of comes in this boxed view. You can hit the drop down here. You have options to rename it. You have options to move it to. You can place a unit into unit 2, or you can delete the whole unit. Clicking into unit 1, here's where you get modules. You can again add a practice page, another graded assessment, or a module bin, and you get all the same options over here. And finally, when you click into a module, that's where you get your pages. So obviously, here's where you would probably want to put a practice page and a graded assessment. You can add a section, which is basically just a smaller way of putting it in. I didn't go that far. And before we go into the sample course page, you have 3 different views. And this is kind of nice to have from the get-go. So you have your basic view. Your detailed view gives you some of the editing details, like I created this yesterday. This was last updated an hour ago by me. This will be nice if you want to see who last worked on it from your team, if you have a team of people working for you. And then what's nice about learning is that the learning view shows the targeted objectives and the formative and summative assessments. You might remember in Legacy Echo, there is a design audit tool, and it's basically a long screen. It has all of the learning objectives and their skills underneath it, and has all these check marks next to it, just showing you where in the course these skills are tagged. This shows up right underneath on the pages. I have a couple of assessments in there and the learning objectives that I have tagged. So going into a page, I'm hoping it loads up. There we go. Thank you. page title. Right here, learning objectives can be tagged similarly, just like the legacy system. And I just started typing some samples. What's nice here is you have this arrow that pops in and out, and it will show you a grouping, kind of like a table of contents on the side. And this is how you would move your blocks. If you remember correctly, for anyone who's actually built physically in Echo, Echo also sort of operates under like a block organizing system. So things are nested within each other. Torus doesn't do exactly that, but it does do groups. And you can see where those groups exist right here on the left-hand side of the content. And what's nice is, whereas in the legacy system, you would have to use arrows and to move groups, and it was very confusing what belonged where, the clear indentation here just lets you put things wherever you need them, and then the content on the right-hand side will be reorganized. I'll take a break for questions before we build a sample.
Just so you know, Eli is helping to answer the questions in the
Oh,
chat. So
thank you, Eli.
take a look at the end.
Thank you. I just keep saying I don't want to ever miss anybody's, whatever's going on. Okay, so you have some text. Over here, you have a text bar. You can switch the text to a heading, a listing, or a quote, all of which I am providing examples for. You have your bold interface, italics, a link, and some more stuff, underline, strike through code, all of the basic things. What's really cool, I like the pop-up content. I don't think I have an example for it because it'll show you best. If you create pop-up content, it'll highlight like this. You can go to our edit bar. If you are a student, mouse over the content or click on the content, you can have extra content pop up, such as a definition or a bonus piece of content, basically. Let's see, when you go to our add tab on the side, wherever you are, you can insert a table, a code block, of which I don't have any code here, but it shows up in pink, which is normal. An image, you can put in a YouTube link. We are looking to add more video hosting software, video hosting platforms. With Torus support, you can put in an audio clip or you can embed a web page. So there's all of that. You can have a coding block sample, and over here you have the ability to select which coding language suits you best. And then down here, we're going into our first examples of assessments. So I created what's called a group. You can add a single assessment, no group, just fine. But if you wanted to have a long block of formative assessments for your students, it's beneficial to do it in a block, because then you get this outline over here. In the corner, you can select what purpose the group is serving. You can do checkpoints. We often do did I get this or learn by doing. We get a lot less of things like many students wonder, but we've seen it in some of our older courses. And this doesn't just have to be for assessments. This can be for standout text, further research, any other sort of activity that you might want the students to participate in. But I just chose a couple of assessment-based items. So what we have here is, you're all familiar with things like our check all that apply. You tag individually right here. You don't have to go into another interface like you did in the legacy system. It will tag the learning objective that you want or the skill that you want, easily get rid of it, add more than one, perfectly fine. You have your your STEM questions. So which one of these should I use? Choice 1, choice 2, choice 3. In the answer key, you select which one is best, or which 3 are best, or which 2 are best. You type in feedback for the correct answer. You can type in feedback for the negative, much like in Legacy. And then targeted feedback, you can do extras. Let's say they only chose choice 1 and you wanted to explain why choice 1 is just not it completely. If they chose 1 and 2, you get the drill. And then, of course, hints. We have these deer in the headlights hints, is kind of to help guide the student in the right direction if they really don't think they know what they're doing. And then cognitive hints are piece by piece, like how are we going to help the student along the way to solve the process. And then if they really don't get it, here's a bottom out hint. So that's for our check all that apply. Much of this stuff translates to other question types we have. Multiple choice you're all familiar with, very similar format. Ordering we have support for. And then I believe, yeah, let's see. Check all that apply, multiple choice ordering, single response, activity bank selections a little bit more advanced. But I wanted to show this is something that we do have in the legacy system, but it's a lot harder to maneuver and a lot more complicated to maneuver. We have the ability to do a content break. So what a content break does in a page versus a group, it basically turns the content underneath it into a second page. So let's say you wanted to do a formative assessment of 9 questions, which that's a lot of questions. So you maybe don't want a whole list, just 9 questions. So let's say you put the 3 questions on one, and then page 2, you hit content break, and you add another question, you add a second question, and another one for a total of 6 questions. And then you add another content break down here. And I'm just going to add one more for preview's sake. And then we go to preview and we have an error. So I'm clearly not going to show you all what's going on. That's unfortunate. But essentially what this will do is that the student then on the published version will see 3 questions and then see a next tab on the bottom. They'll hit next, there's the next 3 questions, and then they'll hit next and it's the last question. So that's available for you to use. Content break can also be used for the entire page. So the entire page will not be split into 2 pages, course-wise. So when you go back to your module 1, it won't show up 2 pages here. But when you actually load up the page, the content will split from 1 into 2 pages. Is that confusing? Is that anybody want me to? I got a thumbs up. Awesome. Just wanted to make sure. Before we go on, does anyone have any questions about content input onto a page? Does anyone have any questions on any of the interfacing? Feel free to go ahead and ask away. I don't see any, which is awesome. That's great. Okay. And obviously this page is really messy just because it's a bunch of examples. It's kind of colorful, but we'll continue on. So that's the basics of putting content into Proton, into Torus. You go all the way back to curriculum and here you are. So before we go on, let's move into the publishing section. So what's nice about publishing is you get 3 things. You have your review, and Torus is built to have certain surface level overviews. If I just run a review of what I currently have, it'll show these potential improvement opportunities, meaning that the software has found stuff that might be less beneficial to the students accessing it. Sorry about that. It'll tell you exactly what's going on. It'll tell you what page it's on. For example, the link I put in is not a full link, so they couldn't find it. This is a good way to catch whether you have a missing link or a typo. Over here, I made some activities and I didn't attach, I made an assessment page and I didn't attach any activities. So I basically have a blank assessment page, and that might not work with your LMS. That might just be an oversight. That might just be an accidental page, but either way, it caught it and it's good to see. And then of course I made some assessments that don't have any objectives attached, and we want to make sure we don't have that, especially because skill tagging is so important, and it caught all of that. And then up here, it'll even show you here's some pedagogy stuff, content stuff, and you can select which ones you want to focus on. And then of course, you can hit preview course and you can look at the whole course, which I still think we're going to get an error. We're getting an error, but you can do that. So after you've reviewed, we're going to go into product, which products are basically what versions are, versions and organizations are in the legacy system. And so this might be a little bit more complex, but I'm going to do my best to walk as smoothly through it as possible. So the course that you're creating is known as a project. And that's, that language is used here. That language is used throughout Proton. So that's a project. A product is if you wanted to create alternative versions of the course, whether that be for an open and free version, whether that be for an advanced version, a more, whatever you want the course to be changed to. It won't make changes in the project section, but it'll make changes in the individual version. So your project is the overall baseline of what you want the course to be. And then your product gets kind of whittled down to the specific changes you want to make for a specific audience. So if I go to test, you'll see up here, this is known as a course product, no longer a project. Here's the details. The title, I just called it test because we're having some, I think that it's hard to numerically name them as of right now. It'll show you where you can publish it. And I can't change the amount of payment it requires, but right now there's a paywall setting. I think admins can change that if I remember correctly, but the amount will be $25. There's a grace period. You have a day to pay that $25. And then down here is the content. So we're going to talk a little bit about what content in a product means. So if we go to customize content, all of that content that you made in your project is right here. So units 1 and 2. Let's say you reserved unit 2 for an advanced version of the course. If you wanted to release this as a baseline version of the course, you can go ahead and remove the unit. Now, I just removed a unit. That doesn't mean I removed it in my project. Just for this specific product, unit 2 will not show up to anybody accessing it. I can always add that back in. If I go to, these are all of the courses that we currently have. I'm trying to find one of them. There we go. So I found the course I made and I wanted to add it back in. Unit 1's already in and I can add it back in. If I go in, here's the module I made. Here's the page I made. I can move it around. I can add, I can only add materials from existing projects. I cannot create new ones in here. Oop. So what's going to happen for the most part is if you have advanced versions in 2 different projects, you can mix and match content. But the baseline of a product is that it's replacing the organization or it's replacing that sort of version control. And you can then make changes to each product individually. And what's nice is that you kind of get more control over these different versions and these different organizations than you do in the legacy system. One more thing you can do, and I know this is what people have, some individuals have been asking for, there's this ability to gate and to schedule. So here I am, I said student, but I really think I get the learner account because otherwise a student wouldn't be able to do this. But what this means is when you hit new gate, you have a target resource. So let's say that you want people to, you want your students to access unit 1. The resource is the unit. Let's say the type is started, graded policy, allow no access to all graded pages. What this would essentially do is that if you want students to, I'm going to switch it. If you want students to access unit 2, they're going to have to at least have started unit 1. It says only pages, but there we go. Let's go to new assessment. So if they want to take the test, they have to have at least started the page and looked at the content. Maybe they'll have to have finished it. Maybe it doesn't matter and it'll always be open, or you can open the assessment on a specific date. So that is a feature that we have for that. Let me go back. And yeah, does anyone have any questions on how products works? I know it's a lot of information and I know it's a lot of like new terminology, especially with product and project. But this is hopefully a way to let instructors have more flexibility with the types of content that they want to put out there. All right, so let's go back to here. And then of course down here you have publish. We have changes and additions. I've had 11 pending changes since I last published the course. It will automatically detect whether you've had a major or a minor change. A minor change will be things like fixing typos, or you put in a paragraph here and there, but a major change will be like you've added new assessments, you've added whole new units, things like that. And you can put in a short description, you don't have to, and then you can just, okay, well, I guess I have to. Fill out this field, and then you publish it. And currently the project is published. And that's all that it takes to get something out onto Torus. And that's where we are. Would it be beneficial? I'm just going to ask yes or no. If we built a project from scratch, or do people feel as if it would be beneficial to do a Q&A instead? We got any? Yeah, let me see if I am able to do that. One thing I don't see is oh, it goes directly to Proton, huh? Caitlin, remind me how you got to the published section.
Okay, to publish a course, that's another loop.
Mhm.
And we would need to enable a couple things
Okay.
before you can do that. But the way that we publish, you can either publish to open and free, you can publish to a LMS such as Canvas, or you can publish to one other. Let me find the name of that. Direct delivery. So what I sent you the other day was a direct delivery, and I can go through how to do that if you'd like.
That would be perfect.
Okay, so can you give me screen share?
Yes, I can. As soon as advanced sharing options, all participants, and you are good to go.
Okay, let me put this on the first screen. Share screen, screen one, share. So here we are at the OLI Torus. And one thing that if you want to do a direct delivery course and publish it directly to our website, is that you're going to have two sign-ins. You're going to have your authoring account, and you're going to have your either learner or instructor account. And these have to be two separate accounts that are later linked. We are going to do some stuff on our side. And then after we've done that stuff, you should be able to log into your educator account and link it up with your authoring account. So this is my educator account. And you can see right here that I can create sections. These sections are different courses that I can publish. So what I had to do was I had to link it to my authoring account. And once I have done that, I will be able to go back to this page and create my published course. So I create a new section for my published course. What was yours called, Alex?
Should be like test 06. If you type in test twice, I think it'll just show up. Or not.
Or not. Well,
You have to actually click search
You have to hit search.
in this view, yeah, but you also have to make sure that Caitlin's an author of the course, or you
Oh,
have to,
understood.
oh,
or you
okay.
have to make
I'll
it
just do
public.
another one then. I don't
Yeah.
have to do that one.
Next time I will add you as a collaborator.
So I create a new section. Let's say I'm doing open skills chemistry. So from here, it's just like in Legacy, you create your section with the title. You choose your start date and your end date. I guess. Today. Your end date. Okay, let's put it next month or November, whatever. And your time zone, all that, doesn't matter. For the brand, you're going to want to choose OLI and make sure that it's open registration and enrollment. If you omit the student email verification, that basically means that anyone can sign up. But if you don't omit it, that means that it has to be someone who has like an email in your organization. So then I create it and my section has been created successfully. And then all I have to do is share this link with anyone and you will be able to see the course. And this will make it very easy to copy courses from other people and remix them, which is something that one of our partner organizations is working on. So yeah, that is how you publish from direct delivery.
Can we see the course?
Yeah, let me share that link with you. Oh wait, no, I clicked one of the wrong things. Well, let's see, maybe. Here is the link. You might have to verify your email because I didn't click
Yep.
no email verification.
I'm not authorized. It's okay.
Caitlin, I've got a view.
That's
of
my
your-
fault.
I've
I'm
got a
sorry.
view of the test course you sent me yesterday.
Oh yeah, send the link of the task force I sent yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll be direct delivery or not, but I can also share and then show you what exactly that Caitlin test looks like. Here's a, there we go.
Yeah, this is one that I made yesterday.
Yeah, and then so I'm currently classified, I'm in my student account, I'm classified as an independent learner. If I share my screen, here's the course overview. I go to Unit 1, Module 1, new page, and then this is the preview of said course. Here's our learning objective. Here's a choice. I've submitted it. I chose the correct one. Here's a table, a hyperlink, but I don't think Educause has connected. Here's a video. I also want to eat that, and now I really want lunch. Here's an image sample for a question. We can reset it. Oh, we got some hints I see, so we can request a hint. Here's a deer, here's a cognitive, here's another cognitive, and here's if you really didn't get it. Here's an ordering question, submit. And here's that content break I was talking about. Here's the second page of the same page, but the content doesn't trail on for however much time. It's just simply on top. And then on the bottom, we have some navigation to this assessment. As soon as it loads. And we can start an attempt. I have 5 attempts.
Yep.
If I fail it, that's okay. And just submit it. And yeah, so that's what a sample, very empty course would look like. But
Oh, that's nice. Thank you. Okay. So it's pretty much ready to go. Is it? Yes, I can start using it now. Chorus.
we'll see. I think
We'll
if
see.
you have
It
any,
depends on what functionalities you need.
that is true. I think our next meeting is specifically for math, I believe, like assessing math needs. But I feel like for very baseline content, then I would say yes, but then I don't want to get in trouble and find out.
Okay.
You said
All right.
you're doing evidence-based design. What kind of content do you have in that?
It was called EGIA, so it's
Oh, they changed the name?
yeah.
For EGIA, yeah, you should be fine because there's no, it's all just multiple choice questions or writing in longer answers.
Yeah.
That should be fine.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. We'll give it a shot. We'll do one module. We'll just do one module and see how it goes and try it.
Awesome. Well,
Okay.
does anyone have any other questions that we can try to answer? Again, it would have been Just not in the cards today for some of our more Taurus oriented experts to be here, but we hope that we did our best.
You did great.
Thank you. But yeah, any other questions? If anything, we can take note of them. And we will, okay, table rendering issue, no problem. We will put in some requests if anybody has them, or if anybody has any suggestions or immediate feedback. If not, then Caitlin or Tanvi, do you have anything else? Or anybody on the chat, if you have anything to add?
I just want to say thank you to Eli. He's
Oh yeah,
been
thank you, Eli.
really holding up the chat for us.
Yep. Multi-level learning objectives, for sure. I will put that in with the rest of our requests. I think I've seen that request beforehand, so that's awesome. All right.
I'll keep asking that every meeting.
Yeah. That is also definitely a design principle, which is beyond what I do, so. But
I had something for the language courses, and I know Mark would bring this up. He's at a conference today. We've just been having an issue with videos. I know you mentioned that right now you can put YouTube videos in, and that you all are looking at other video platforms. And that's something that, as we're developing new courses this summer, that would just be helpful to know, what are those platforms going to be, because with the language courses, we have videos where we cut them at a certain time, and it needs to be pretty specific so that the listener only hears a certain portion and sees a certain portion of the video and has asked questions about that.
Right. So I know that there's been a request from multiple times to do like second or like millisecond almost level tagging for videos. I know that Vimeo was mentioned. I remember I think there was going to be some Google Drive. I don't remember if Google Drive was mentioned, but I figured that might have been one of them. I know that that's being worked on, or the ability to just host the content has also been brought up. But other than that, unless Tanvi or Caitlin have some answers on that, I'm not sure.
Eli would probably be the best person to answer that, but it's in the pipeline is our answer.
That's good to know. Okay.
That's a good, yeah.
Are there any preferences you have around video platforms that you would like to have being supported within the platform?
Yeah, if you have any requests for video platforms, like if you can think of ones that are beyond Vimeo, or I keep wanting to say Dropbox, but it's not a video platform technically. But if you have any like very specific or very niche ones. I
don't think we have any. It just needs to be able to support that tagging of split second parts instead of with YouTube. I think it's just by seconds.
Yeah. I think that's part of the, if I remember correctly, the last time I've heard it mentioned was like, if there's in a pipeline for that to be the split second version like needs to be designed within our space. So that takes that, we'll see. But yeah. And then Michael, I noticed drag and drop for learning objective organizing would also be nice. That'll go into the user stories pipeline. All right. If that's all we have, I know we're out a little early, but I think we did the best we could with what we've got. And thank you for your patience, between hopping the Zoom rooms and then, between screen shares and things. I know I thank you. But yeah, I'll stick around if anybody has any questions, or if Caitlin, Tanvi, Eli, Sasha, if you needed to say anything or, wanted to, please feel free to speak your piece. But yeah.
Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. I think we might be good. All right. Thanks, y'all. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I'm probably it'll stop recording when I